Hi, I just checked the calendar and we're about 10 weeks out from the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships. I know it seems like a long time, but my local speed puzzling friends have been sharing practice puzzles, and now a giant stack of Ravensburger has accumulated in my house, so I need to start working on them ASAP so I can pass them on to other people. The amazing thing about the stack is that there's more than 30 Ravensburgers behind me, and I think I've only bought about 3 of them. The giant stack next to that is Cobble Hill, who is also the sponsor of my team, the Golden State Puzzlers. They sent this giant stack of puzzles for practice. Thank you, Cobble Hill. And just in case I run out, I also have more 300s and 500s there. Will I get to them? Who knows? The reason we're focusing on Ravensburger so much is that the brand of choice at the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships is Ravensburger. So these are some of the puzzles from previous year's finals. In the individuals, this was from 2 years ago, and this was from last year. We had 90 minutes to finish a 500-piece puzzle. Hence all the 500-piece puzzles that I'll be practicing solo. In previous years, the pair's preliminary round was a 500-piece and the final was a 1,000-piece. Like this beauty from last year. Only 9 teams finished the puzzle. This year, the pair's final is actually a 500-piece puzzle in 75 minutes, so wish us luck. And in teams, we will have 3 hours to do 2 1,000-piece puzzles. This is one of the puzzles from last year. It's really gorgeous. It's puzzle people. Hopefully this year there'll be puzzles that are just as awesome. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but to be at a Millennium Dome with hundreds of other people who have traveled from all around the world, all of whom who love jigsaw puzzling as much as you do, is just an amazing feeling. Last year, there was a vendor that did custom t-shirts where you could pick the top you wanted, whether it's a shirt or hoodie, and the design you wanted, and print it on the spot for you. I got this one that lists the competitors on the back, and I got a bunch of my friends to sign it. Isn't that like the best souvenir? Well, let's get this practice started. So this is my first practice puzzle this year, after taping off my table according to the size as specified on the World's website. The puzzle I'm doing is All Labs Matter, a 500-piece puzzle by Ravensburger. I started with the brightest areas, the white and yellow labs. But I was worried about going outside the boundaries, so when flipping over all the pieces, I tried to keep my movements restrained. I think I felt a little cramped and slow as a result. Since I think I was panicked a little about time, I didn't do a complete flip, so my pull of the white and yellow pieces was likewise incomplete. The color differences between the 2 dogs was at least distinct enough, so it wasn't too hard to assemble this section. At this point, I wasn't sure what I wanted to work on next. I'm not very good at making quick decisions in the heat of the moment, so I jumped around a little. I picked out some ocean pieces, I picked out some fur pieces, I picked out some green pieces. As you can see, I eventually settled on finishing the bit of ocean between the dogs' heads. This is why I like to sort so much when I puzzle, because it helps narrow my focus and allows me to concentrate on an area. Now you can see I finally decided to work on the green section at the bottom. It was actually quite nice to work on that area because there were a number of horizontal lines that ran through that section, which made it easy to align, and I felt I made fairly decent progress putting that bit together. You might have noticed that this is a panoramic puzzle, which is less common of a puzzle shape, but did actually make an appearance in one of the world's preliminary rounds last year. I probably should have put the box lid on a holder to free up some space. That's a good thing to find out in practice. Again, with the restricted space, I felt like this puzzle went more slow for me than usual. I spent more time than I should have moving pieces back and forth, moving pieces out of the way. That takes up a lot of time. There is sometimes debate about whether it's faster to start with the edge pieces. I think in puzzles where the edge pieces are visually similar to the non-edge pieces, it is faster not to pre-sort. In this case, the top and bottom edges would have been very easy to pull out and might have provided a handy base to build off, so I may have made a mistake in not doing those edges first. None of the green pieces were actually completely green. They always either had a bit of light blue or black on them, so it's easy to tell how they aligned top and bottom and which row they came from. So at this point I finally gave in and started doing the bottom edge. Also, if I had done the edge first, I would have known better how far apart those 2 chunks would have been, and I would have left more space for the brown lab. At this point, I was still nervous about pieces going outside the boxed area. I'm getting really close to this edge at the right side there. That's also another thing about working solo. In pairs, I usually give all the edge pieces to my partner while I continue sorting out by color or texture. But when you're working alone, you have to do all the jobs. Images with fur tend to be something that speed puzzlers avoid, but 2 years ago at Worlds, there were tons of animal puzzles. So a lot of us prepared those, and last year there were hardly any. I remember a bunch of us sitting around in a dome, wondering if the next puzzle was going to be the fur puzzle, and it never was. Instead, there were a ton of round puzzles used. So you can see I'm working on the top edge at this point, but I still have blue pieces all over, top and bottom of the table, which is a time waster if you have to move back and forth between them. That's one of the benefits of sorting trays. It allows you to accumulate large groups of similar pieces in one spot that you can move to any part of the table you need. I seldom use them in solo events though, because the trade-off is the time spent to sort them onto the tray. However, if we have to share tables at Worlds, the space-saving benefits may outweigh the time cost. Every year, there's also a lot of speculation about the puzzles that will be used. Since the competition is held in Spain, some of the puzzles are exclusive to Ravensburger European's catalogue. Puzzlers from the US, for example, may never have had a chance to purchase some of the puzzles, whereas the players from Spain may have already done the puzzle multiple times. Given how many preliminary rounds there are going to be this year, I think it's likely that some of the puzzles they use are going to be already released. Well, what can you do? At this point, it was pretty easy to tell which pieces belong to the brown lab and the two black labs. The black lab on the left was actually much more blue than the one on the right. That was something I didn't notice until I was working on it. I definitely need to get better at my pre-assembly analysis of box image. I think that would help speed up my planning. On the whole, this is probably a good puzzle to kick off my training season with. It's fairly easy, lots of defined sections to sort out and work on. I definitely have some harder puzzles lined up, especially some landscapes and busy puzzles, because those are not my strong suit. Since this is a borrowed puzzle, I probably won't get a chance to do it again. In my previous speedrun practices, I have learned that the benefit of doing a puzzle multiple times is that you start getting very explicit about techniques that improve your speed. On the other hand, doing as many puzzles as you can improves the chances that the puzzle you are given in competition is one that you have seen before. The annoying thing is that the couple of times that has happened to me, I only saw marginal improvement in my times, maybe about a minute better the second time I did the puzzle. Some of my friends saw improvements of up to 5 minutes. I guess it helps if you have a good visual memory, which I don't. At this point, I was left with just sky. I noticed there was a faint shadow in the background. However, it wasn't quite distinct enough to prevent the need for shape sorting. I didn't quite take the time to line them up properly. I just separated them in groups based on the number of knobs. I usually don't like to take the time to shape sort, but when all the pieces are literally the same color, that's the only thing you can do.